Contractors of Colorado. It's your host, Andrew Lavrens, here with another episode of the Contractors of Colorado podcast. We've got a fun one today. It's with Paul Willett, our public adjuster to the Contractors of Colorado group. So very excited to kick things off with him. Before we do, shout out to our sponsors. Thank you to the Builders Outlet. Always here for our material needs, cabinets, doors, windows, trim. They have a custom mill, so reach out to them for everything that you need. They're located right outside Empower Stadium, right there in downtown Denver. And then also thank you to the Business Foundry. It's an entrepreneur center, a great event space. They are here for anything that you need for your business. Please, they're a great resource to have in your book of contacts. So don't be afraid to reach out to them. Thank you to the Business Foundry. And let's kick this thing off. Paul, how are you doing?
Pretty good. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. It's a pleasure to have you involved with the organization. First and foremost, I was pretty ignorant to what you did. And I think that's a little bit on me of just, I don't work in this, insurance field much, thankfully. If I was really knowledgeable, I'd be a little worried, but it's great to have somebody with your knowledge, and we're just excited to have you. So
yeah, what I like about this group so far is everyone has been wonderful and very open to learn, because my industry is not shared around by the insurance company for obvious reasons. So there are a lot of people who just don't know about it. They don't know that it's an option, or they might not understand what the differences are between a public adjuster and a contractor and an attorney, for example. So everyone here has demonstrated they have an open mind, and they want to understand how I can help. So I'm definitely interested in doing that for you guys.
Lump me into that category. I'm very excited to learn more and more. Our verification process that we do with all the affiliates and all the contractors, it went great. I learned a ton then. So I'm excited for this podcast. I think it's going to be very educational for everybody. Before we jump into the business side and talk more about Taurus Claim Solutions, I want to know and want the audience to know just a little bit about you. Who are you? What do you do? What are your hobbies?
So I'm live here in Colorado, up in Thornton, just north of the metro there, with my wife, 3 dogs, big dog lover, 1 cat. I like to do anything that I can work with my hands. Like I do a lot with vintage automobile restoration and archiving. I do a lot of work with museums for auto restoration, and I just like driving my cars, working on my cars, and taking corpses out of fields and turning them into award-winning trophy vehicles. So
yeah.
Anything where I can actually, say that I built it instead of just simply bought it.
Yep.
I like to run and keep active, and I do a lot of arts and crafts, that type of thing. But
cool.
Anything where I'm using my hands and my mind is kind of where the space I like to be in.
That's your creative outlet.
Creativity.
Awesome. Other than creatively picking apart insurance policies and getting claims paid out more.
That is an art form.
Yeah.
in and of itself.
Awesome. Well, that's really cool. We talked a bit about cars. One thing that I think is worth mentioning before we jump into the business side is just this isn't, collecting your luxury cars. These are, your Pintos and
yeah, I think everything has a story and a piece of history. I think it all needs to be told, and there's more room for stuff other than just fast cars.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
a lot of character in your garage. A lot of character. Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing. Anything else throughout the podcast that you feel like chiming in? That's what this is today. I just want the audience to get to know you, get to know your services, and ideally walk away with a few things that will help them in their career and just make them feel more comfortable reaching out to you to start that relationship of how you work together. So in that note, tell us about Taurus Claim Solutions.
So with that, getting back to me from a business perspective, I started out in insurance about 12 years ago. I've worked for several major insurance carriers over the years, increasing levels of responsibility and claims. And most of this has been field adjusting. So I'm out there, I'm climbing on the roofs, I'm writing the estimates, I'm reading the policy, I'm making the decisions, I'm having the difficult conversations with homeowners, with contractors, And I was an independent adjuster after that. So you work for many firms as a 1099, right? And I was a damn good one too. But the more I did that, the more it became evident to me in recent years that experience is no longer valued by the insurance industry. They don't want someone who knows what they're doing because they can't tell them how to do an improper inspection according to how they want to do it. They can't tell them, to make a coverage decision that isn't, they can tell them to do it and they won't question it because they don't know what they're doing. A lot of these people that they send to an insured's property, whether that's commercial or residential, it is commonplace nowadays to not even get someone who is a licensed adjuster. They might send like a Seek Now or something like that just to get photographs. And then they send it to someone in an office who just looks at those and makes whatever decision they want. So again, with the wildfires, the climate change, all of these things, and other mismanagement of the money the insurance companies have, they have become a bit wary of expenses, and all of their actions, keep as much money as we're bringing in through premiums, have been driven by that. And they're trying to make it the policyholders, and by extension, the contractors working on the policyholders, they're trying to make it their problem. So I switched, and I switched sides, so to speak. Went over to the light side.
Yeah, we were joking. You're like Robin Hood.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So basically taking the same skill set that I have developed over the years of reading policies and knowing the ins and outs of what is and isn't covered and how they back that up in writing based on the policy contract, knowledge of the laws that play into this, and knowledge of how an estimate is written, how an inspection is conducted, and how to talk to these adjusters, what they can and can't say, what contractors can and can't say, and what a policyholder should and shouldn't say. So I wanted to kind of give back after so many years of working for that side of things. I just figured, I just can't be a part of this anymore, the way that it's heading. And I think talking to a lot of contractors, even as an IA, everyone's kind of saying the same thing, is that it's become difficult to deal with these companies. So I feel like that's people need someone that they can actually trust to be on their side, who knows all aspects of the process.
Yep.
Because their contractor does that, but they have a limited scope. They're there to do the work, and there are legal limitations as to like what they can talk about or bring up. And the insurance companies keep track of that kind of thing. If they get a contractor saying, trying to talk about policy, they'll mark you down in an informal list and report people for unauthorized practice of public adjusting. So that's something to know, that as an insider, that is something they absolutely do. So I think that there's definitely a growing need for this type of service, both from a customer perspective and from a contractor perspective.
Yep.
So that's why I started this up, and already getting some good results for the clients that I've been fortunate enough to work with.
Awesome. Yeah, I want to give you the opportunity later on in this conversation to maybe highlight some of those examples.
Absolutely.
You mentioned working with contractors and working with homeowners,
Mm-hmm.
and it was kind of eye-opening to me, again, as somebody who's just not involved in this world, how you work with all of the parties involved. So tell us kind of your ideal situation, or your common situations when you are connecting with the contractor, introducing to a homeowner, all of that.
Yeah, so my process differs somewhat from other affiliates that might be used by contractors, in that my service agreement or my contract is not with the contractor, it's with the contractor's customer. So I become the customer's legal representative for matters of the claim, and I speak for them. Now, how that helps the contractor is that they don't have to spend the money to pay me. It comes out of the claim settlement. And the contractor doesn't have to deal with the claim outside of selling their services and completing the work once it's ready to be built. Ideally, a public adjuster should be involved from the very start or as soon as possible, because that way that percentage is based off of a fresh claim instead of on money that was already given, because it's based off of the total value of the claim. And as well, you can meet with the adjuster. You can see how they are on site. You can videotape. You can do all of these things that if you get involved later, your opportunities for success become more limited the more time passes and the more things have happened in the claim. Like if the insurance company has already sent a reinspection and then sent an engineer, I can help, but the options and the chances of success are going to be more limited at that stage of the process. So having someone involved as soon as possible and getting the client on board is the most ideal situation. The another benefit for contractors is that on a normal claim without a PA, they might send their estimating to a supplement company, it can be expensive over time. With a public adjuster, I'm already writing the estimate myself. Of course, I'm sharing it with my contractor partner to make sure that it contains what they need, and you're kind of bouncing it off them.
I'll throw you a softball here real quick. What qualifies you to be doing estimates for these contractors or alongside these contractors?
Because I was writing estimates for about the last decade on site, so I know how the insurance writes the estimates, and I'm level 2 certified in Xactimate.
Yep, there it is.
Yeah. So, I've written an estimate or two in my time, so I know what should be in there, what we're probably going to get, what we might not get, what's a negotiation piece. So the contractor doesn't have to worry about that, and they don't have to pay someone else other than, outside their company to work on the supplement, because all of that's handled by me anyway.
Yep.
Typically, I like the contractor to be with me so I can have them as backup, because they're the ones doing the work. And at the adjuster appointment, I think that their presence is valued, definitely.
So you're coming in really ideally from the jump. And that's, I think, where this is such a good partnership and a good fit for you, is your ideal relationship is, if we could know every homeowner and they know, hey, as soon as I need a claim, let's call Paul.
Yeah.
But even as somebody who's taken a claim before, it didn't even cross my mind.
Right.
So instead, developing these relationships directly with the contractor so that as they get into more and more projects, you're involved right from the jump. And it saves them time, can earn them more income.
And that's the kicker, is that with a public adjuster, the trend is that there is a significantly higher settlement on most of these claims. The chance of it is you're going to get more money from it, because I know how to exploit the language in the actual policy contract, and I can bring that to the attention of the insurance and do that negotiation with them based on that, whereas the contractor is limited by statute in what they can do. And the insurance company knows that. The insurance company, what I've noticed recent years is, here's what they say it costs, fight us. Their method for discussing and negotiating this is basically just, come at us.
Right.
They're not being collaborative. They're not wanting to discuss it. They're not wanting to send documentation. They're wanting to say, this is what it is, sue us. And most people aren't going to want to spend 30 to 40% of the settlement and take several years with an attorney. Now, that is still very much an option once you use a public adjuster, but a public adjuster is 10% of the claim value, total claim value. So knowing someone who can help avoid problems before they start and anticipate arguments, because you work with the same carriers time and time again,
right,
with customers, and how each one is behaving this month, what their new tactic is. So you know how to fight it, and you learn real quick.
Yeah, we've talked about some of those kind of policy examples where, even when I didn't understand it, I'm like, this was exactly where the value is. I mean, if we could walk away with more dollars from the insurance company because you were able to get more out of the claim, and the contractors don't have to deal with insurance at any point.
Exactly.
Perfect. What a win-win scenario.
Exactly. They're not paying anything for me. In fact, they can't by law. We can't exchange money from me to them or them to me, because Colorado doesn't allow that. And they're not paying for a supplement company, and their claim is getting much higher settlement typically because I'm able to exploit the policy language in the way that I have under the licensure. Now, the other benefit too, is people always ask about time, like how long is this going to take? Is this going to delay the claim? And my answer to that would be no, not on my end. Sometimes the insurance has shown to want to delay the claim as much as possible. Once they see the word public adjuster, their demeanor just like changes instantaneously.
Yeah.
But public adjuster is paid when the policyholder is paid. Like there's no upfront cost. There's also no cost for a consultation. If you have a customer that thinks they could use me, or if you guys all want to meet, that's completely free. But it's in my interest, as well as the customer's interest that I represent, to get it done as efficiently and quickly as possible. Part of that is knowing the time limits that the insurance companies are required to adhere to and what actions to take if they don't. But I would not say that using a public adjuster extends or delays the claim as like a causal type of relationship. In fact, often quite the opposite.
That's a great kind of a insight into working with you. Is there any other significant pieces of working with you that would be important for our audience of contractors here? Or, we have tons of property owners, investors in here as well that could benefit from this conversation. So speak to that a little bit.
Yeah, just taking it for anyone really, just taking it off your plate. So you have an insurance policy, you got it because you might have a mortgage. You have to get it. You want to get the cheapest possible. So you get a policy. It's 45 pages long. It's written by lawyers. It's written for lawyers. And you have a claim. It's very stressful. You don't know what's going on. You don't know who to trust. You don't know if the insurance is going to treat you fairly. So really anyone who feels daunted by having to file an insurance claim or deal with the insurance company, the value in that is that you have someone step in to be your representative and handle all of it. So I'm not a contractor, so I would be working alongside a contractor of your choice in order to facilitate that and make it go as efficiently as possible and for as much money as humanly possible. For contractors, it just means they have more time to sell their services and do their services and not have to worry about any of this stuff because I got it covered for them.
That's awesome. And at a very high level of you understand the game. At the end of the day,
that's really what it is.
Yeah.
It's a game. And the insurance company writes the rules to the game, but they leave a lot of loopholes. So it's my job to get everyone what they need by using that.
That's awesome. It's a very noble cause. I appreciate the fact too that you came from we'll keep calling it the dark side or whatever.
Yeah.
You came from that side of hey, I don't feel right about this, and then you found a lane to still use your expertise and be able to deliver. So
it's really funny because coming from that side, the perception is just a complete 180 from what we're talking about. Insurance companies hate public adjusters.
Yeah,
and there's a good reason for that. It's because we win and we cost them a lot of money.
Yeah.
So, I think I'm where I need to be in terms of, the skill set that I have and how I can help, people in the community and in the state of Colorado to deal with it.
Yep. We're confident that you're the right guy to have involved with everything we do. So again, just pumped to have you in the ecosystem, and I'm excited to see some contractors come forward and start working with you.
I already have had a few
awesome
from here that I've discussed this with, and just waiting on some damage to come about and see what we can get.
Hail season, and knock on wood, but it's coming. So I'm not looking forward to that at all. What other than roofers isn't obvious. Anybody that is taking an insurance claim or working with customers taking the claim, I imagine, are a good contact for you. But
absolutely.
Tell us about.
So I work with residential and commercial property insurance. So it's a first party policy. That means it's not liability. So if someone is suing you for something you did, As a contractor, errors or omissions, that's not really something that a public adjuster is designed to help for. I fight for the party who is insured under the policy, who bought the policy for damage that occurred to their property. It's not really a thing so much with vehicles, just because those are straightforward claims and the amounts are low enough that people typically wouldn't want to use a public adjuster. But like, if you have multifamily buildings, like if you have 40 of the same building and you have massive hail, you got roof, gutters, siding, you have some interior damage in several of the units, you're talking a 7-figure claim and there's a lot of money at stake. You're going to want to make sure that that claim is handled to the letter by the insurance company. And, if they try to play games with it, you want to know how to respond. The adjuster's not calling me back. But meanwhile, like if you're a property association, you have like 400 people that might all have damage or all have issues that you have to answer for. I work with HOAs. Whoever just wants to have a one-stop shop for all things property claims. Water claims as well.
Okay.
So it's not just weather-related stuff. I do where if there's a frozen plumbing or a burst pipe, things like that, fires, really any type of thing you can imagine happening that causes a significant amount of damage to a business or a home that a contractor would be repairing.
Yeah, makes sense. Anybody taking a claim that is significant, and I'd encourage anybody to reach out to you to figure out what that significant line is. That was one thing that I was excited about while we were talking is just in the way that you can step in and help. You can also just set expectations right away. Like, hey, there's not really enough meat on the bone on this one. It sounds like it's shaking out somewhat fair. So again, excited to have you on board to just be the resource.
Yeah.
Again, that's all of our affiliates. That's what we pride ourselves on in this group on is you're here to educate, you're here to be a resource, and you're here to be a business partner and a friend. And
Absolutely.
yeah. So excited to have you on board for that.
I certainly appreciate it. Yeah, that's you were talking about like stories of ways that I've impacted customers. And so I have a commercial water loss right now. Initially, these customers were unsure as to whether they should file a claim. We had like 3-inch water in multiple rooms, a lot of continuous carpet. It's like, well, we have a $10,000 deductible. I don't know if we have that here. And I'm kind of looking at them like, we might want to check. So they signed with me. They gave me a chance, and I think we're up over $450,000 on that claim.
Wow.
But and some of it was having me there with the adjuster. Some things that I thought were going to be issues didn't turn out to be issues because I think my presence and the expectations I set with the adjuster caused them to know that it probably wasn't going to be a good strategy to fight those particular things. And then was able to get the general contractor overhead and profit on that one as well, a full 10 and 10, which they didn't want to do because, you really have to look at the policy and see. And I was able to, they fought and fought and fought. And it's like, well, at the end of the day, they don't have an argument. So they gave in.
Yeah.
And I got my customers what they deserved.
Yeah. And now I know I'm not the sharpest tool in the shed. It's, I'm okay to admit that. But even if I was sitting down and reading that insurance policy, one, like talk about a task, what a chore, but two, how much of it would I even be able to understand? Like,
right.
I can already foresee I'd be dumping that policy into Chat GPT and, hey, explain this to me like I'm 5.
Yeah.
Help me understand my policy. And that's just not how this game works.
Yeah, generally not. So like I said, it's written by lawyers for lawyers, and the reason that they write it exactly the way they write it is to the state has to approve it, so that's the minimum amount that the state will allow, and it is written in the insurance company's favor. So the insurance makes the rules. The insurance will try to bring things that are outside of the wording in the policy contract into the equation. You got to be, no, it's not in the contract. You got to have these conversations with them and call them on their own, mistakes. And they get very agitated about it when you do that. It's great.
I'm sure.
But, so it's not something that like a regular person or someone who has a particular trade. Like if you're a roofer or you're doing siding, you don't have time to sit there and read policy. And then even if you did, the state knows, then the insurance knows that the state knows that you can't really do anything with that information as the contractor.
Right.
So, it's kind of, we need to be thinking about this as a team approach for what is best for the policyholder. The contractor has their part, and I'm there to help them. It's indirect, but in getting the policyholder what they need, the contractor is getting also what they need.
Yeah, it makes sense. It's
symbiotic.
Yep.
In that symbiotic, in that my business doesn't have the same exposure to everyday people and businesses that contractors might, because they do the canvassing and they talk to people who might need repairs due to a loss. I'm usually, I don't have the avenues for that. So that's where the teamwork comes in, is that being connected to the clients. And if the client is on board, because they have to be on board because they're hiring me, say, okay, I'm going to work with your contractor as, as someone who is also assisting you to make sure that you have what you need. We're separate entities, but we're all going to be working together to make sure you get the best outcome.
Yeah. I think the expertise is, the more and more we talk about it, it's becoming clear. Like this isn't something that even if we see it in the marketing world from time to time. Like, okay, even if I went and spent my time wanting to learn how to do SEO, could I do it at a level that's meaningful enough? And in your case, these contractors can't. Like they could be, just as knowledgeable, but they can't really act on it.
Right.
They can act on it. So that's cool. One thing we mentioned was the insurance and how they're always changing and, working with the state and doing all these things. What is it that might have changed, or is, what are you feeling in the insurance world? And because it's a constant topic that we hear about, especially with the real estate groups and all this. Insurance is just changing.
Well, the prices keep going up, and that's unavoidable because as property values tend to increase, the cost of construction and repairs will increase along with that. So they have to raise the prices to provide that product. But at the same time, an insurance company doesn't tend to make money on insurance. They take in the premiums from the businesses and the homeowners, auto owners, whoever, and then they take it and they invest it and they make more money off of that. That's where an insurance company makes their money. They just don't want to lose additional money in their insurance operation. That's the more of that they hold on to, the more of that they can invest and continue to earn interest and put their name on sports stadiums and all that kind of stuff and not give it to the policyholder like they should. But in addition to raising prices,
I'm laughing over here. I just know I'm off camera, but I was just sitting on the other side of the table, just laughing. I'm like, yeah, I could see the passion on your end. I feel it.
It's true.
Yeah.
We don't see eye to eye, me and the insurance companies. So.
That's fair.
But basically, the trend is that the prices continue to go up. People keep paying their premiums, but you got companies that are, we're not going to sell insurance in California anymore. State Farm, like saying like, we're going to pull out. We're going to cancel all these policies. We knew they had fire risk in these areas. We're going to wait till right before fire season and then, nope, sorry, cancel all your policies. And then they have a big fire. It's like they have models to predict this kind of stuff. So like you knew where the property was. Insurance companies, you have a appraisal provision in the policy too. Like if you disagree with us on the amount of loss, each party can hire an appraiser. Each party pays for their appraiser. I do appraisals too if I'm not also the PA, by the way. If it's just like a pricing thing, give me a call. But when you send that, the insurance company might stall. They might ask for more documentation. They will do everything except name their appraiser, which they have to do in usually it's like 20 days according to the policy most often. And I have some where they just won't do it. They just refuse to participate. And back in my day, like handling claims, I even now I'm just like, it was not at all like this just, several years ago. It was not as contentious, and there was not this never surrender resistance to just paying people what is proper.
Yeah.
And the fact that they don't even send their own adjusters a lot of the time now, and
it's just business decision. You think it's a mix of, hey, there's maybe some high risk areas that are experiencing more trouble than before due to
they just
extreme
don't want to
weather,
spend money anymore.
Right?
Like they want the premium money to go to the investments. They don't want to keep losing money because they've lost money in the last, I think it's like 5 or 6 years. They haven't. The insurance industry for property and casualty hasn't made any money. They've lost money. And they just don't want it to get worse, so they're intentionally writing lowball estimates. Some of them are switching to software that is both cheaper to buy and provides a cheaper estimate. Like there's one called Symbility, which, and there's studies on this, every single time is going to be 20% on average below market.
Yep.
So
happened to me with Safeco.
Appraisal.
No shout outs, no free shout outs to Safeco, but yeah, they did that. And that's what happened. We had somebody come in with Xactimate and rectify the situation and just kind of laugh and go,
appraisal.
This is just how it is.
Every single time, appraisal with that.
Yeah.
It costs them money, they'll stop doing it.
Yeah. Awesome.
But the environment has changed, and services like mine, the appraisers also, and helpers. So like the insurance company is really leaning into other people who are not licensed adjusters to not only take pictures, but to basically adjust the claim. Like I have some cases where they never sent an adjuster, ever. Nobody who's a licensed adjuster who is there to make coverage decisions has set foot on that property. They sent the ladder assistant person to take photos, sent it to the desk adjuster. The contractor complained about the amount. We're about $100,000 off, by the way, on that one. They say, okay, we'll send an engineer who they hire and they pay. Engineer.
I wonder what he's going to find
Yeah,
or she's going to find. All right.
So, I read it. I even tried to talk to the engineer, and what he said really kind of hit me. It's like, well, I'm not going to discuss that with anyone but my client. So it's, that's not biased at all.
Right. His client being the insurance
company
exactly.
who's paying him, and he gets return business for that.
Yeah.
So, if someone has a license and they're like a licensed professional, like an engineer, they have certain standards. What is he doing?
Yeah.
Like, that's crazy to me. But
that's how it is. I think that's another reason why it's a positive to have you involved with everything we have going on, and why I encourage all our contractors here to reach out and at least figure out, is this something is that can work? And you could tell them straight up, hey, I don't foresee this going anywhere, but save my name in your phone, and you never know. And I think it's just a great opportunity for all the contractors to just have you in their pocket of being able to call.
Absolutely. Yeah. And that's the thing too, is like using a public adjuster, it's like a liaison between all the other options that you still have. Like if you go to appraisal, that's pretty much it. You go to appraisal, might go to umpire, that's it. You can't really do too much after that. But if you go to a public adjuster, I have engineers I can call. That I have a big list of engineers, good independent professionals who you can call in to get a certain report and say, what do you think about this? If they're sending an engineer, it's like, well, they agree, they disagree. You can fight fire with fire. My firm has an attorney on retainer. So if the client chooses, if they want to go proceed to litigation after a certain point, and that's where we're going to talk about documentation here in a minute, that attorney under my retainer is my cost, and it's free for the client to use. Now, obviously, we want to try to avoid litigation at all costs, because it can take a while, and it can be expensive because there's other costs other than just the attorney.
Right.
But there's all sorts of experts that we can draw upon, knowledge of the code, relationships with all the different building officials. Like I read today, Boulder County just approved a code for Class 4 shingles must be installed when you're replacing a roof in all of Boulder County starting, I think it's this month. Check it out. That's going to be huge.
Yeah. Expensive shingles.
Oh, yeah.
Fire suppression systems. Man, building in Boulder is getting to be pricey item.
Yeah.
Awesome. Well, we've got time for a couple more questions, and I didn't think I'd ever get so into an insurance conversation, but I feel like I'm finally talking to the right side of the table here. Like, all right, how can we go to bat for ourselves? You know, the individual and the business and the small business owner fighting against these, 100-plus-year-old companies that are just massive in machines and high turnover of employees and all of that. It's just it's been a great conversation so far. You mentioned documentation. How important is documentation throughout this process?
That is the most crucial part of the process. So I know what needs to be saved. Every email, everything is saved. Calls and even in-person interactions in Colorado, videotaped. It's recorded. And I would hope that we wouldn't have to go to videotape, but if someone I've been burned too many times that's something that is, I go to that if I need to.
Yeah.
Not always, but better safe than sorry.
I was talking with an individual last week who came in and had their uniform on, and I was like, man, it's a sharp looking outfit and everything, and right on his chest was a body cam, and he keeps it rolling all day long anytime he's on a job site. And I was like, does it feel overkill? Kind of, but can this also, I foresee this getting you out of several sticky situations. And he's like, oh yeah, it's worth every dollar. Like, it was an investment, but it saves us on job sites all the time. And it's not even always ill intention. A homeowner thinks we did something. Okay. Let's check the tapes. Hey, we didn't do that.
Exactly. It also protects, if someone makes a claim against like the contractor, if I'm there and I'm doing a videotape or a recording, it's all there. So then I'd be happy to share any information that helps my contractor partners as well as the insured.
Awesome.
But I mean, just think about it this way too. We were talking about this earlier too, as far as like who makes the rules and who has to follow the rules. Whenever you call an insurance company, like you call the 800 number, what's the first thing you hear on the recording?
You're being recorded.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So say for quality and training purposes.
Right.
No, it's not for that. It's for documentation purposes so that they can use it against you later.
Yeah.
And that's basically, I just throw that right back at them. Because when you're the big company, you're making the rules. You also have a damn high responsibility to play by the rules, and that it doesn't always happen. Yeah. And that's where the documentation is critical.
Well, we're happy to have you involved to level the playing field, man. Yeah, I feel like a broken record. I always get like this when when we find a missing piece of this affiliate puzzle, and we've spent so long years kind of curating this group to help the contractors, and it's like, oh man, what a perfect piece to just fit right into our ecosystem. Before we wrap this thing up, I wanted to really just give you the opportunity to, is there anything you wanted to cover today that we didn't get to?
We covered a lot of it. There's really no particular property. Residential is kind of contained, but like commercial, there's really no limit. Like schools, churches, there's a lot of roofing material up there. And I'm sure that the people who are running those organizations don't understand the policy, don't want to deal with it, don't want to get tricked or duped. And the contractor wants to do that project because it's a lot of money. The sky is really the limit as far as who your clients are. And, can I work with them if they want to? Absolutely. Skyscrapers, sky's the limit.
Yeah.
So nothing really scares me as far as what type of building or loss. So.
Awesome. Well, absolute pleasure. Looking forward to having you at the events. every third Tuesday, as you've been to before, every third Tuesday, 7 a.m., we get together here at the Business Foundry in Lone Tree. We've been having 70 plus contractors show up.
It's a
So
really good turnout.
it's
The one I went to.
yeah, it's it's a good time. It's one of my favorite things that we do on a monthly basis. I always look forward to it. Is it a little stressful now that it's grown into this absolute monster of a meetup? Yeah, but at the same time, it's just more bodies coming back to me with positives of, hey, I met this person, and now I'm excited to have you in that room with all the other affiliates. And again, it's a contractor only meetup, so you guys are the only ones that come in and are there to educate and be a resource. And man, something's working.
Everyone brings something unique to the table, which is what I like. There's people that I can call upon if I need things done, even outside of insurance, like landscapers are probably not normally going to be involved in stuff I'm doing. But if I know someone that knows how to do that and does it very well, that's been vetted by your organization, I know who I'm calling.
Yep.
So it's a great space, and I really like what you've created here.
Awesome. Well, I love to hear that. It's every day feels like something new is coming our way, and everything's coming up roses. So again, excited to have you. Thanks for being here.
Thank you.
Absolutely. I'll drop all your information in the post or however we roll it out on the YouTube and all that stuff. So expect your phone to start ringing, because man, if I were a contractor, you'd be one of the first people I reach out to. So awesome. That's it for today, everybody. Just a quick shout out to our sponsors. Thank you again to the Business Foundry for everything you do for our entrepreneurs and hosting us as well. The podcast room, several contractors are coming forward and starting to do some media content with us, which is very exciting. So keep an eye out for other contractors in this room doing their thing. And then thank you to the Builders Outlet as well. Cabinet Stores, Windows Trim, located in Denver. They can get your materials to site. They have relationships with everybody everywhere. So reach out, let them know Contractors of Colorado sent you. Other than that, I hope to see you all in person. Keep an eye out for all of our events, everything we're doing. We have a lot of resources coming forward. So just excited to keep working with you all. Take care, and we'll see you next time.